From the Funk Master's fantastic striking that allows him to pick his foes apart, to the insane amount of experience he has in the octagon, these are the real reasons why no one wants to fight Aljamain Sterling. Funk Master's currently the best fighter in the bantamweight division, and one of the reasons for that is his terrific striking. What separates Sterling from his rivals is how unique his style is, because he's the type of fighter who loves to switch stances while throwing punches, making it difficult for his opponents to defend his strikes. Plus, he's got one of the best jabs in the game from the southpaw stance, as it's fast, technical, and most importantly, it packs power. As for his jab from an orthodox stance, while it may not be as great as it is from southpaw, it still gets the job done more often than not. Since Aljo's one of the bigger bantamweights and enjoys a 71-inch reach, he's a pro at using his jab to maintain distance. Then there's his long, accurate right cross, which can also do some damage. But one of his best punches is his right hook because it's fluid and natural, plus he's great at disguising it. His left hook's got a nice and tight arc, though it's very unorthodox as he throws it low and leans forward with it, yet it's still an effective punch. Besides that, Funk Master's great at hitting his foes with spinning back fists and even spinning elbows, making him one of the toughest opponents to beat at 135. But the only way fighters can be respected as elite strikers is if they're great at using kicks as well. And luckily for Sterling, his kicks are just as good as his punches. In fact, Aljamain's kicks are a huge part of his offense. His kicks to the legs are hard and accurate, while the roundhouse kicks he throws are long, quick, and powerful. But what makes him a pain to be up against is his use of the front snap kick to the body, because it's a fantastic weapon, allowing Funk Master to control the distance without having to use up too much of his energy. The way he's unorthodox with his punches, it's the same story for his kicks. Rather than using his punches to set up his kicks, Sterling does the opposite, so he'll kick first and follow that up with punches. This strategy's worked well for him, as it discourages his opponents from countering his kicks. Though if you want to see Aljo's kick-punch combos in action, we'll need to rewind to his fight against Jimmy Rivera, because Funk Master put on a clinic. Jimmy was one of the best strikers in the bantamweight division. And in his prime, his striking was better than Aljo's. Yet Sterling still outstriked him. Everyone thought Aljamain would need to use his wrestling to get the win, but instead, he chose to stand and bang, which worked out in his favor. He constantly stayed in El Terror's face with the help of jabs and front kicks, leaving Rivera beyond frustrated. Jimmy tried to counter Sterling's strikes, but unfortunately for him, they didn't land. To make things worse for El Terror, he couldn't come up with another answer, because he was scared of being taken down. So this bout alone goes to show why fighters wouldn't want to be up against Sterling. And Rivera's not the only elite striker that Sterling defeated, as he also beat Pedro Munoz, despite not getting enough credit for it. Funk Master's one of the best strikers in the UFC, and the numbers back me on that. Did you know that Sterling lands 4.78 significant strikes per minute, while having a significant striking accuracy of 52? That's outstanding, so it's high time his critics give him credit where it's due. Another area that he deserves more credit for is his clinch game, because he has tremendous grip strength that keeps even the strongest of opponents against the cage, while his technique in the clinch is phenomenal for the most part. Plus, he throws hard and technical knee strikes at a high volume, even when he tries to take rivals down in the clinch, something that only a few fighters can do. But that's not all, because his defense in the clinch is terrific as well. Though, since he's so active with his own strikes, Aljo's opponents rarely even try to hurt him in the clinch. But as great as he is in this department, one of Funk Master's greatest strengths is his wrestling. After all, he was a Division III wrestler and achieved a ton of success at that level. And to no one's surprise, those skills have translated pretty well inside the octagon. Sterling tries to get takedowns in a variety of ways, with most of them being quite creative. For example, Aljamain's one of the best at catching kicks and converting them into takedowns. Again, this ties into Funk Master's kick-punch combos, which make his foes want to kick back at him. And if they do, Sterling takes them down. Even otherwise, his ability to transition from striking to wrestling's amazing. On top of that, he's great at wrestling along the fence. Some people might criticize Aljamain and say he's not the best wrestler, but his bout against Henry Cejudo gave solid proof of how great his ground game is. Triple C's wrestling so good that he won an Olympic gold medal, yet Aljo took him down 4 times at UFC 288. What's more, when he takes his rivals down, he can unleash some brutal ground-and-pound attacks as he throws hard punches from both hands and occasionally uses an elbow strike as well. His ground and pound was too much for TJ Dillashaw to handle at UFC 280, so Funkmaster got the win via TKO. While Sterling may not have the best takedown defense, his ability to return to his feet's unmatched. While some of the best grapplers may take him down, they rarely get to do much damage since Aljamain immediately throws up an armbar or triangle attempt, allowing him to gain some space. Then he hip escapes and gets back to an upright position with perfect technique. But all of this is possible thanks to Funkmaster's stellar athleticism. This makes him one of the most difficult opponents to dominate on the ground, so even world-class wrestlers can't keep him down for too long. Another thing about Aljo that makes him a terror to face is his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in which he's got a black belt. When it comes to taking their opponents back, there are few better than Sterling, and it's because of 2 reasons. First, he's very aggressive in throwing hooks, unlike other wrestlers. And second, he does a fantastic job of getting the far hook in first. Once Aljamain's on his opponent's back, he's a pro at dominating them as they find it impossible to escape. Funkmaster's phenomenal BJJ was on full display at UFC 214 when he made a mockery out of Renan Barão. Then, on top of the BJJ threat, Aljo's foes also have to worry about his insane submission skills, which adds to his overall ground game. Once Sterling takes his opponents down, not only can he control them, but he can also threaten them with a bunch of submission holds. Just look at what happened when he faced off against Corey Sandhagen in 2020. Funkmaster dragged Corey to the mat and took him out with a rear naked choke, leaving the MMA world amazed. And get this, that was only one of his many victories by submission. He took out Cody Stamann with a solo Ev stretch, while he finished Johnny Eduardo with a guillotine choke, and defeated Takeya Mitsugaki with an arm triangle choke. Then before his UFC days, he took 4 opponents with a rare naked choke. So let's just say that Aljo's one of the greatest submission specialists at 135. Clearly, Sterling can do it all in the octagon, and even though that's tiring, he pushes the pace till the end. I'm not saying he's got the best gas tank in the division, because at times he looks visibly fatigued, but despite that, he's able to fight at a fast pace, making him one of the toughest opponents to one-up in the octagon. And since his fight IQ's amazing and he uses smart strategies, his foes have found it difficult to take advantage of the situation when he's tired. If you pair all of Funkmaster's skills with his UFC experience, it's no surprise that he's the last guy fighters want to be up against. While the bantamweight division has a lot of talent, none of them have a resume that's as impressive as Sterling's is. He's had 17 fights at 135 in the UFC, and won 14 of them. On top of that, many of those wins came against phenomenal fighters such as Rivera, Munoz, the man himself Petr Yan, and even one of the greatest fighters of all time, Henry Cejudo. When a champ has experience like this, dethroning them's next to impossible, since they've faced so much adversity in the octagon that they're prepared for anything and everything. So, from the insane amount of experience Sterling has in the octagon, to the Funkmaster's fantastic striking that allows him to pick his foes apart, those were the real reasons why no one wants to fight Funkmaster.